If I were you, let's say you have 5 properties and you realize, look, I can't staff enough property managers to cover all my hours and not miss opportunities I'm probably going to have in the market. I can't staff enough people to keep all of my tenants happy all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my own business development process here for my properties. I'm going to hire, 2, 3, 4 people to cover 100 plus hours a week to make sure we're there for them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to write software to be able to talk to my site management system. I'm going to record calls and do quality assurance on them. I'm going to drive my promotional special. I'm going to do all this here in my central office. If I'm you, the very first thing, once I understood the value of that concept, I would look for somebody to do it for me instead of me doing it myself, because I could never make that a profitable venture. It would never pencil. That's why this company exists. We solve that problem. We are your national sales center.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is the premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Are you attending the SSA Spring Conference and Trade Show in Orlando? Don't miss Dinner with the Sharks at SeaWorld with the SBOA. Save the date, Thursday, March 13th at 8 p.m. This event is for SBOA enhanced members only, so watch your email for details.
Good morning, Self-Storage Land, and welcome to another episode of the SBOA Self-Storage Unlocked. I'm Iris Segan, president of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA, and I am excited to host our webinar today, Prep Now, Lease Up Faster, with Shannon Charbonneau from XPS Solutions. We know that spring is a critical time for self-storage operators and with increased demand from new tenants. And that's why Shannon's here, and she's going to talk to us about how to prepare your facility and digital presence and set yourself up for success during the busy season that's coming. But before we get started, I do want to offer a couple of quick reminders. If you have questions today, please drop them in the chat. We'll answer as many as we can live, and any remaining questions, we'll send you an email afterwards. We want to make sure we get everyone's questions answered. That's why we're here. Please do participate in our live polls throughout the webinar today and share your insights. That helps guide our discussion. And once again, we will have a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway for the most active audience participant. We'll announce the winner at the end of the webinar, so please stay engaged and participate in the chat and polls. In fact, right now, why don't you tell us who you are and where you're from? We'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest today, Shannon Charbonneau. How are you, Shannon?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Iris.
Thank you for being here. You want to tell everyone a little bit about you and XPS Solutions, what you do there?
100% yes. XPS Solutions is premier self-storage call center here in the industry specific to self-storage. We've been doing this for 25 years. It's our 25th anniversary this year. I love it. I started with the company in 2011 and have just enjoyed so much. I think like so many people in the industry, I found self-storage by accident, but I would not have it any other way. I absolutely love it here and just love to be here. XPS is a really critical part, I think, of a good tech stack for any facility. We're here for anything from very, very simple automation all the way up through having a full remote manager to help with your facilities. So
that is awesome. And we know you love self-storage. We love self-storage. We're in solidarity today in red since tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and we're celebrating our love for self-storage. Today is the perfect day to talk about leasing up. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up a presentation. It's not a full presentation, just some little visuals to help everybody as we go along today. And the first thing we were going to talk about is curb appeal. What would you say are the top actions that operators should take to repair their facility after winter?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this doesn't impact everybody in the country, but I think that it did impact this year more than most. Any of our self-storage operators down in New Orleans might be like, pay attention to what's happening here. But the first thing I want to say is that winter is very damaging to facilities. So not only on your actual landscaping, but especially think about things like your roof and any kind of damage that could have been done by ice or snow. You want to check for cracked concrete. Big swings, wild swings in temperatures cause cracks in concrete. Check for damaged gutters. They will ruin your building. If it's not found and corrected pretty quickly, a crack in a gutter will leave puddles of water where there is not supposed to be puddles of water. And water is very damaging. Check for failed seals. I'll make sure all of your doors are sealing properly. Make sure that all of the little pookie around, the edge of all of the openings in your roof are not cracked. And we talk about this being a spring cleanup, but some of that damage actually comes from sun as well. So that's a year-round thing, but spring is always a good time now that you can, see everything. Hopefully some of your snow is melting. I know some of our northern neighbors are still kind of buried. But for sure, you want to check for damage. We want to look for anything that is going to be a liability concern, really. If you've got a curb that is cracked and it becomes a tripping hazard, you want to repair that. Make sure that you don't have rugs that have been put out for, because a lot of times people will have to put out rugs when there's ice and snow and salts and things like that. Those get torn up pretty quickly and become a tripping hazard. So it's time to, repair, remove, or replace on those kinds of things. And then just take a look at your walkways. Any place that people are going to be walking around, make sure that they're going to be safe, because that's a huge consideration. I love this one picture. If you look right under where it says curb appeal, this is what spring looks like in Texas. I don't know if this is where everybody is, but there's always going to be like one bush that just didn't make it. And so this is the time to really sit down, meet with your landscaper. If you don't have one, I would say get one, because landscaping is a big deal for curb appeal in your facilities. Sit down and make a plan with them to replace all of the things that look like that. Think about even just the little pretties, some flowers around, but the things that are evergreen or, that are perennial that come back every single year, make sure that you're meeting with them to get on their schedules. You do not want to wait until, the end of March or April and then try to reach out to them, because they're going to be completely stacked up. So February is the time to have those phone calls and have them take a tour of your facility. This might also be the time where it's time to do a refresh, right? Maybe your office needs a repainting, and we all know everybody hits the walls and it gets a little dingy and gray. And sometimes it's just time for a nice fresh coat of paint. I will never stop talking about the doors and what a difference it makes with a fresh coat of paint or a product. Our friends over at Everbright have a wonderful product that they can put on those. It makes such a difference in the look and the feel of your facility.
We love Everbright. And yeah, I think it bears mentioning too, just making sure you have all of those people in place. You mentioned meeting with your landscaper, meeting with your maintenance people, especially if you have more than one location, and knowing what their schedule is to, or if you are hiring someone from the outside source, making sure your contracts with them are up to date.
Yep, absolutely. And that's all part of maintenance, right? Is making sure that you have all of those people ready to go. One thing I wanted to call specific attention to is I don't think we talk a lot about, we're not everybody's 100% occupied these days, right? It's not what do we say, the good old days of 2022. There may have been some units that have been empty for a little bit over the winter. And I highly recommend you go ahead and open those up. And they probably need a refresh. You're going to think, oh, it's been behind closed doors, it's fine. But I promise you, every bit of dust will have settled in there. You will have cobwebs. You will have dead bugs from the last time that your guy came through and sprayed. And so it's really, really a good idea to go through, open all of those up, make sure that they look good so that you can confidently open the door to a brand new tenant and not be embarrassed by what's going on and what you thought was a completely empty and ready to go unit. I would say anything that's been vacant more than 30 days should be kind of maybe in an ongoing rotation. It doesn't have to all be spring cleaning, but it's the time. It's the time. And then again, we're just looking for anything that stands out. This roof damage with the seal that's bogging down there in the middle, that is a very real thing. And you want to make sure that you get that taken care of.
Yeah, that would be pretty mortifying to be showing someone a unit and open the door and see that. So definitely want to be on top of those things.
Absolutely.
And anything else as far as curb appeal you want to mention?
No, I think I'm ready to move on to digital. I think you guys have a poll question you guys wanted to ask there as well.
And we did. So we got lots of comments. We have everything from daily walkthrough to weekly, monthly. Yeah, Kim said daily, chat, monthly. Jennifer, they have every Monday. They do a. Whoops.
Ooh, you have a submission process. I love it.
Yeah, I love that too. We have an internal audit program that we offer where people use an app and they can actually they submit pictures as they walk through the facility, so people know.
Right.
Those are wonderful. Patty said monthly.
Fantastic. This is all good news because, sometimes when we get on here, we don't know necessarily who all of the audience members are. And it could be, people who own and operate 100 facilities, and probably none of this is going to be new information. But we have managers who probably want to know the why a little bit more. It's less about, hey, here's your checklist, go check these things. But a small crack is a liability issue, right? That's a big deal. A little leak is going to ruin your building, and it's going to cost thousands in repairs the longer it takes. So that's kind of the whys behind that.
Yeah, and I think when people understand the why, they're more likely to report it and look for those things and just be on top of it.
I agree 100%, which leads us to digital, because the first thing I'm going to say is now that you have cleaned up everything on the outside and you've got, shiny doors and fresh paint and your landscaping looks good, it might be time to redo your pictures, right? Like, we want to make sure that you're putting your best face forward on your website. This is the time. If you haven't refreshed your site in a while, this is the time. I won't name any names, but I will say that I looked at a self-storage facility's website this week, and dead center, big, bright, bold, was their COVID-19 protocols, along with a giant photograph of a plastic like folding table in front of the counter, to allow for some physical distancing there. So that obviously is someone that I'm going to recommend. You need somebody monitoring your website because that's probably not the look that you want to give to every single person who looks for your product, right? I laughed when I found I found your lack of tests disturbing. I cannot tell you how often I hear from operators, we had no idea that wasn't working. Right. So part of your curb appeal is on your web, right? Going through, touch every button and make sure it does what you think it's going to do, that it links to where you think it's supposed to link to, that it opens with the appropriate size, that it's not, giving you random errors. When you do get your photographs redone, consider drone. Videos are quickly becoming like the number one attention getter. We're a TikTok society at this point, and a 30-second video is going to attract someone's attention far more than a gallery of 145 still photographs, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I can say, also not naming any names, but I was on a major website the other day, and I went to click on their Instagram and it went to their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So, back to the testing, make sure if you're not going to do it, have somebody just clicking on every single clickable link to make sure it's going to the right place.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to say, simplify your online processes as much as you possibly can. Like, I understand when you rent online, you have to have them fill in their name, address, phone number, all the things. We can't get away from that. But I will say, pay attention to what the online world is doing. Amazon has ruined it for everyone with one-click buying, right? Like, you are never more than one click away from literally something is on its way to your house. So if you go through your rental process and I have to read 27 pages of information and, plug in my name in 3 different places because you have different sections on your leasing process and all of that, that is not an easy process, and it's not a good customer experience, right, for someone who's brand new to you. So I would highly recommend not only checking the functionality for it, right, making sure that you can actually rent a unit, that it accepts the payment and all the things happen, but simplify wherever you possibly can, so that you're not asking for additional information, more than you need to. And then when it comes to things like online payments or, using a web or an app for your payment, or using an automated payment system, if you have that available, test all of those and make sure that they're functional, right? Now, if you're using them every single day, you're going to probably know really quick if one of them drops off, because all of a sudden you'll have fewer payments and people are going to squawk about that because I tried to pay and you wouldn't take my money. They're going to say so. But what they might not tell you is, man, when I tried to pay on your website, it gave me the spinny thing for like 90 seconds. That's a long time, right? There's nobody talking to me. Nobody is paying attention to me. I'm just sitting and staring at a spinning thing for a long time. So pay attention to those types of things as well.
Yeah. And I can, another example I have is our mystery shopping program. They were testing the site. So they went on, we test kind of everything, not just your customer service, but they did an online, email, filled out the form to give more information to rent. And it turned out the email wasn't going through, and they didn't know, because they didn't know what they didn't know, right? So
that's right. And then you have no idea how many you've missed, and
exactly
opportunities, real opportunities there for sure.
Making sure those phone lines are working, you have someone answering those calls and emails, because now is more critical than ever. Make sure everything is working as it should be.
Yes, ma'am. I see Carrie posted on here that they're updating the website. Absolutely love that. Again, it's not easy. I think we can all agree it's not an easy process, but so worth it. And I really hope that pays off for you as well.
Absolutely. Carrie, let us know. We'll all test your website for you.
I love
all kinds of traffic right away.
I love it.
All right, I'm going to move on to our next slide, talking about how to prepare for increased volume. This is sort of our everything else slide. With spring bringing the increase in rental activity, what steps should operators take to manage the incoming volume effectively?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the world that we're in right now, the first thing I'm going to say is it's time to make the decision of whether you're going to have physical staff present, or for how many hours you're going to have physical staff present at the facility. I think we saw kind of a really strong shift towards remote managed, unmanned. I hated that word, but remote managed facilities. And then I think that we have swung back more towards the middle. I think a lot of facilities have found that, you know what, maybe it doesn't need, for every size of a facility, it doesn't necessarily make sense to have someone there all day, every day. However, there are a lot of things that absolutely have to be done on site, right? So being prepared for that. And I can't say enough about training for people, because having a physical person present who does not feel confident about what it is they're doing there is less effective for your facility than having no one. You'd almost be better off with a QR code than someone who answers the phone but has no idea what to do, how to act, what to say, right? And so plan your staffing, think it through, what kind of hours do you really need? Utilize the data that you have available to you. If you're using any kind of a marketing number on your website, pay attention to what hours of the day those calls are coming, or what days of the week those calls are coming, and staff accordingly. And then I would always, obviously, as a call center, I can't get out of here without saying, I think every single property can have value in extending their hours, right? And so you're never, ever going to staff 100+ hours a week at your facility. So utilizing someone who can just handle overflow, right? Because it doesn't matter how many people you have on site, they will always have someone at the counter, and then a call will come in, or they will be cleaning a unit and a call will come in. So there's a real value in just having people who are trained and confident and ready to handle those calls. And that can be any time of the day, but a lot of people specifically think, okay, listen, if I have staff, I need after hours, right? If I get a rental opportunity at 8 p.m., I want that rental, right? And a lot of times we'll hear, I know, but my website offers rentals, and they should, and they can, and they do. But I will tell you, as a call center, I'm going to just let you in on a little secret, that the rentals team here would absolutely tell you almost every single call they take begins with the words, I was looking at your website. Right. But they still picked up the phone and called because there was something that they couldn't answer, or that they just needed a little help to get over the hump and actually feel confident to hit that button. They weren't ready to go. So one thing I would say is, if you are working with any kind of a third party who sends you rentals or even rental opportunities, right? If that person just really truly isn't ready to rent right now, pay attention to the notes that you're getting. If you're seeing a lot of customer has this question, consider adding that to your website, right? Again, we're trying to make that as easy as we can for them. But then when you do have someone call you, have someone pick up that phone who knows what they're doing, knows what the product is that they're selling, understands the value of it, compared to the guy down the street who's selling air with doors as well, right?
Right. And someone is not afraid to ask the questions like, what's your name? What are you looking for?
Oh my goodness.
When are you moving? When are you moving?
The things we take for granted, right, Iris?
Again, we have a mystery shopping program. So I hear all the stories. We had someone sent us to their best facility and they didn't even ask for a name.
Mm-mm.
So
No.
some people, and you want to make sure there are people who are making sure there's follow-up. If for some reason it's way after hours, the call comes in at midnight or something,
Yep.
someone's following up on that call, and it's not just, dropping by the wayside, because that's just money out the door that nobody can afford that.
Nobody can afford. Yeah, I mean, we all know kind of behind the scenes how much money it takes to just even make the phone ring at this point. So, it's so important just to make sure somebody's there and available who knows, who can answer real questions. We've seen a lot, during the time in the industry. We've been doing this again for 25 years. And in the last couple of years, we have seen people in the industry who say things like, you know what, I'm just going to get a VA, right? I'm going to get a virtual assistant, and I will give them a few, key things to talk about. And that can work. It can. Please know, I am not saying that absolutely can't function, and depending on your business, but I'm saying that person is representing your multi-million-dollar investment. And I would ask you to consider whether they're representing it as well as you would like for them to. I've literally had phone calls with people who say, we're looking at a call center, which again, we've been doing self-storage specific call center for 25 years, or I'm thinking of hiring a VA in the Philippines. Like, those are my two options. Mm-hmm. And their words were, I realize that their training and what they're going to be able to do is nowhere near the capacity of what you guys can do, and doesn't include any of the technology that's involved with it.
Right.
However, I really ought to consider the cost. And listen, I'm a business person. You're a business person. Absolutely, you have to consider the cost. I would never pretend that you don't. But I am going to say, make sure that you consider value, right? It's not enough to just have a live person answer the phone. If every single call they say, I will take a message and have someone call you tomorrow, you're competing at that point with a $15 answering machine, right? And so, or free voicemail on your phone. So I would say consider value, not just cost at that point.
Yeah. And of course, even with a virtual assistant, they need days off too. So as opposed to a call center where you always have someone, right? You've got extra coverage. Yeah. I definitely, so you have to balance all of those costs and the ROI, the value, like you said. I want to just bring up we asked in our last poll question, what are the biggest challenges they face during peak periods? And I just want to touch base on some of these. They're not actual questions, but comments. So Chad mentioned occupancy and operational costs are the biggest challenges right now. I think we hear that a lot across the industry.
For sure.
Suggestions for Chad?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'm going to say, I'm going to relate it back to what we were just talking about, is that every opportunity is just gold. Like you absolutely don't want to miss a single one of those. So if you don't have anybody who's accepting after hours calls or whatever, make sure it's part of your process that the very first thing in the morning you're returning those calls. That when you get an email from the website, make sure you know that your team is responding to that immediately. Like, that can't wait until tomorrow. That it has to be every one of those opportunities has to be treated like the gold, for sure that it is.
Absolutely. Amanda says running the annex facility.
Oh, good point, Amanda. And that's something that actually every bit of what we're talking about, it becomes an extra challenge, right? If you are physically in one location and your inventory is in another location, signage, I'm going to say, is going to be your best friend at that point. Make sure that if someone just drives up to that facility that they know how to find you physically on the planet. Don't assume that they know because the name is the same as what's up the street. Be sure, put a link on the gate that maybe like a QR code or something that automatically takes them to Google Maps and shows them it's only 4 minutes away or something like that.
QR code could have it so they click on it and it calls it right away.
Right. Or calls or goes to the website or
Right.
anything like that. But yeah, Amanda, I 100% agree that, you can't chop yourself in half. Right. And so being physically present at one location and running another one is definitely a higher level. And we're seeing a lot more in the industry where it makes sense, right? Especially if these are smaller facilities, but we'll see what we call hub and spoke, where you'll have one main facility that has the office and it has staff. And then from that office, they're maintaining multiple locations, right? You might be on a rotation of where you're doing lock checks and picking up trash and checking for all of the things we talked about earlier with your curb appeal and your safety and your water and all of that. But you could see that where you have one office and maybe up to 10 facilities if they're in a physical distance where they can handle that. And so for sure, making sure you're managing that schedule, I think is really important for that.
Right.
Just having one, right? Don't let everything be on an emergency basis, I would say.
Right. Being proactive as opposed to reactive. Definitely.
Mhm.
Jennifer said her biggest challenge is having limited vacant units and deciding if she should reserve a unit for days or rent it for a walk-in.
I love it, Jennifer. Well, congratulations. First of all, that's an excellent problem to have, that you don't have enough availability. I'm going to dip my toe into different waters, really, that we haven't talked about yet, but I would consider that it might be time for a price increase if you're that far occupied. But one thing that I would also say is reservations are good, but they're not rentals, and I wouldn't hold them for very long. If you're in a highly occupied situation, I would probably consider making that a very, very small window. Like, if you can come tomorrow, I will hold that unit for you. I would not hold those for a long time. And, I think it depends on how long you've been in the industry, but it used to be the standard where people would actually take a reservation fee that would hold that unit. I don't necessarily agree with that. That would be like me, hey, I would like to come and view this item to see if I'd like to purchase it. And then the seller says to me, okay, but I'm going to need a non-refundable amount of money in order for you to come and see my product that I'm selling. That's how that comes across to me. I have seen people have success with it, but I think you're probably much better off just reducing the number of days that you'll hold something and trying to rent it right away. I think this becomes a training issue as well. Whoever is answering that call, rather than defaulting to the reservation or how long can I hold it, this becomes, listen, I literally only have one left of that unit. This is first come, first serve, my friend. I would really highly recommend that you rent it right now. You might pay 2 more days of rent, but you have it, right? And so those are the kinds of things that I think that you want to cover in your training as well. I would say reservation is a fallback. That is not the goal. The goal is a rental, right? If they have to come tomorrow, if for whatever they need to visually see it to understand if their things will fit, whatever that is, yes, maybe a short window, but I wouldn't hold it long.
Especially if you're that full.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I would do more than 24 hours.
Yeah. I see a note there that talks about finding the right people as well. And I agree with that as well, Jennifer. It's tough. Finding people who care, I think, is just the number one thing, that they're not just there. Obviously, we're all at our jobs for a paycheck. I will tell you, I love XPS Solutions with my whole heart, but it wouldn't take very many bounced paychecks for me to say, I think I have to find another job, because I didn't come, just for my health today, right? That being said, I think it's not just a training issue, that's a hiring thing, right? Really, really dig in on those questions when you're deciding on staff and who to staff with. Really get in on questions that are, tell me about a time where you had to care for someone. where something happened that you had to overcome. Tell me how you handled that. Really listen for their answer. If they give you a solution that they came up with that indicates that they were kind of annoyed that the person had the problem to begin with, listen to that, right? When people tell you who they are, listen. And so find the ones who tell you, oh my gosh, I felt so bad for her. And all I really wanted to do was give it to her for free. Obviously, we can't do that. So what I did was X, Y, and Z. And she was so happy. Like, those are the kinds of people that you want to find to staff your facility, because this is a people business, right?
Definitely. And I would say too, if she's getting an average of 600 applicants to one hire, you might want to outsource some of your hiring. You know, there's companies like Alpha Staff, things like that, you don't have to have a PEO or be signed up with them for any other service.
Right.
They will do your recruiting for you. You know, I think XPS can help you with that too. Third-party management, many of those will do it. I think Absolute does that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that might be something, especially that's really time consuming to sift through 600 applicants and try to decide. You know, she's saying they're not even reading the description, the skills needed.
Yeah.
So I would consider, depending on how desperate you are to get people in, especially with lease-up season coming, you need to get them in and trained before that busy season hits. And I would consider maybe getting some help with that.
That's an excellent suggestion. I wholeheartedly agree with that. The next thing that we want to talk about a little bit is the marketing, right? How to get your name out there. When we say busy season, it's kind of an assumption for us that it's going to be a busy season. But if it's not being busy, like, what are you going to do if it's not busy enough? And you're like, I'm seeing occupancy. It's popping up over here in the comments over and over. Mm-hmm. I want to be best friends with every apartment complex manager in your area, right? I think going to different locations, you know, you've got a legal team down the street, put your sticker on some like the file boxes, right? This was a great recommendation that I had from someone I really admire here in the industry. Like, be specific, be intentional. Not everybody's going to want your little tchotchke that has your logo on it, right? But a lawyer's office, they go through banker's boxes like you would not believe. And you can get a package of those at Walmart and slap your sticker on the side, and they're going to know that you were serious, right? Like, you really thought through who you were talking to, and pay attention to those types of things. Join your local chamber of commerce. Right? Those are any time that you can get people to know who you are and say your name in conversation, right? They've got a real estate agent who's got a couple, they're moving in from California and they just found out everything's been delayed by 14 days. They have an entire house full of stuff that needs to be stored. You want your name on their lips. And so it is, and that takes time. I want to kind of specify that this isn't something that you're going to run around one day. You're going to drop off a business card and then everybody's just going to call you and your occupancy is going to soar. I mean, have relationships with the people in your area. That even means your competitors, Iris, because listen, I have seen symbiotic relationships between competitors who are down the street from each other because one of them is consistently rented out of 10 by 20s and has 5 by 5s that they can't rent to save their lives. But 5 miles down the street or less, there's one who has 10 by 20s all day long, but their smaller units just get, sucked up.
Right. Having
a relationship with those where you can say, hey, I don't have that, but they do up the street. It's helpful, right? Obviously, you don't want them taking your business, but you'll know when the time is appropriate for that or not. But again, it all comes to relationships, and that's really what grassroots marketing is all about. I don't know if any of you know James Reed in this industry. I love. I think he is like a leader in being a pillar in the community. Make your facility a community hub for different activities. And I you know what, I'm going to have to ask him what he thinks the ROI is on that. But I will tell you, if you're in a town that has one of his self-storage facilities and someone says storage, everybody there knows his name, right? Or not his name, but his company name.
Right.
That's who people think of. And so think about that. What can you do? Can you spare a 5x5 unit to host a clothing drive, or blankets for your area, or coats, or food drive for your local food pantry, or open your office for a wrapping station at Christmas time, and like all of those kinds of things that cost very, very little but bring people to your area. Please don't worry that they didn't rent a unit today. The point is a long-term understanding of, hey, boy, if I do need storage, I know where I'm going to go.
Right. If they have a place they're already familiar with, that's the first place that's top of mind when they do need the storage. One of the great ideas I heard was one owner has a flea market once a month. Yeah. You've got lots of space there. Why not? Right. And just, I love the being part of the community. Was it James? James, if you're watching, hello, we love you. Pop in and say hi.
I know. I don't know if he's here, but yeah, he has been so creative. Like, I think at his grand opening last month, they had like a giant monster truck show up, and like just things you wouldn't think of for a self-storage facility, right? It's way beyond the wavy guy in the parking lot.
And I don't know if it was James. I can't remember who it was. I heard about it. Gosh, it's been a couple of years now. But somebody had their logo and address, printed up on a Frisbee, and they just tossed them into people's yards.
Oh, that's funny.
You're going to go out and pick up a Frisbee, and hopefully you'll play with it. Your kids play with it. Your dog plays with it or something. And that's way better than a business card or something stuck to your flag on your mailbox. I love that idea.
For sure. For sure. One thing that we do want to talk about is when you do that marketing, pay attention to what has been really successful for you. Because if you have one manager of an apartment complex and 90% of your rentals came from that manager last month, a box of bagels would not be out of the question, right? Remind her how thankful you are that she sent all those people to you. If you've got a local real estate agent who tells all of his clients about you, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but about, a bottle of bourbon at Christmas time, like something that is, again, knowing that you have a relationship with this person, you should know kind of what might appeal to them, right? And be intentional with that, and make sure that it is an ongoing and that you're not just receiving, right?
Right. Yeah. Spread the love, because we love self-storage.
That's right. That's
all
right.
out today.
and then that leads us kind of into tracking all of that, right? Like I just mentioned, how do you know that you need to thank that apartment manager? Because you're tracking where your leads came from, right? When you have closed on a rental, how did you hear about us? Should be a question that just naturally flows off your lips. If you even need to ask, because I'll tell you, just, employing some active listening, and that's part of your training as well. I find that most people, if I say, hi, I'm Shannon, who am I speaking with? And you go, my name's Iris. Hey, listen, I was just at this apartment complex. I'm moving in there next week, and they told me about you. I need some storage, right? Don't ask the question later, right? You need to be actively listening and understanding where that's coming from, or they might tell you, hi, I'm looking at your website and ... I have this question. So you don't have to ask, how'd you hear about us? They Googled you, right? Exactly. Now, maybe you're getting into the weeds with, did you check us out on Google? Did you find us from Apple Maps? Some people get granular to that level of detail, and by all means, ask those questions. But active listening, I think, will get you a lot of the way. But absolutely track. You cannot manage what you don't measure. And you can't make assumptions that everything is going great if you don't know your physical occupancy. I've actually spoken with owner operators who are like, oh, my manager handles that. I get a report once a week of who moved in and who moved out and how much money was deposited. They're literally running a business like that, right? And I hope with my whole heart that manager is as honest as the day is long,
right?
Because they're not measuring anything, they're not tracking anything. But then, of course, on the flip side of that, you're going to have people who have, they're measuring every single thing. And on that, I would say be careful not to get too micromanaging, I would say, I just made up that word, by the way, micromanaging. It's a thing. But be careful, because you're tracking 100 different things. It is going to be difficult for anybody in a 3-minute phone call to hit all 100 of those questions, right? So make sure that you're not increasing the length of time, because again, we take calls all day long, and I can tell you there becomes a point in the phone call where that person, they want to be done. And if that is where you choose to say, one more thing, how'd you hear about us? It's just the worst, right?
You know, you want to keep enthusiasm and excitement going.
Yep.
And to that end as well is, of course, customer service goes along with hand in hand with marketing. Keep notes, write all of these things down, make sure there's a pen and paper, or you have your laptop or something right there while you're talking to people.
Yep.
Because you might not be there when they come in the next day. And we all know that there are tragedies that are often involved in getting self-storage. So when someone walks in to get a lease, but they're doing it because there was a death in the family, you want to make sure your tone and voice match what's happening for them, so that it just keeps things comfortable for everybody.
And you don't want them to have to re-explain everything to a whole new person, right? Because if they walk in the door after they called yesterday and they told somebody there that someone passed away and that they need storage, and I walk in and it's a brand new person who says, what's bringing you in today?
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that again. I mean, I don't think that there's probably anybody on this call who hasn't been through grief like that. And having to explain that over and over again is like, that's not the kind thing that we can do. And I'll tell you, for XPS, our motto here with our team is to be helpful, friendly, and kind, right? So kindness matters. And you would be surprised how kind it can be to make a note on someone's account. This is why they were calling, so that the next person who reads that knows, right, and doesn't do the same thing.
Most definitely. And the whole team at XPS, you guys are experts at all of those things, I have to say. I do want to mention,
I'll tell you.
I want to mention a couple more challenges that people brought up. Carrie said limited vacancy and the opportunity to get a rental.
Yeah.
Even though you add them to a waiting list, most times they want the unit that day. So you lost a potential customer and possibly future rentals or referrals.
It's true. That's one of the hazards in our industry of when your occupancy is too high, right? The perfect balance would be to always have one more unit available. Just one, right? You don't want 100, but you always want to have one more unit available of every single size. This comes back to, again, I'm going to say pricing. If your vacancy is that limited, you need to raise your rates. But you might lose a couple people, but if you do, you have more vacancy and you can rent it for even more to a brand new person who walks in the door. But I will tell you, if you are that rented up, you are leaving money on the table. So even if it's just a little bit here and there, please know that I am not recommending the get them in at 50% off and jack their rates by 200% in the first 6 months. I'm not a believer in that. But I will tell you, especially in this time frame that we're in right now and the way self-storage looks, is if this is your primary problem, then you have room and you have money that's being left on the table. I suspect that there are far more people who have more occupancy and that their problem has more to do with, how do I get that phone to ring? How do I get more people in the door? And I mean, that's a different issue on its own. You may need a promo really to get them in the door. Again, going back to helpful, friendly, and kind, we also say around here that clear is kind. So if you are going to offer any kind of a discount to get somebody in the door, be so clear with them. This is a promotional rate for this month, right? Beginning next month, the regular rate of X applies. Don't let that be a surprise to them, right? And you might even, obviously it's going to be in the lease, it'll be on everything, but just, again, clear is kind.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings us to Brian's question, which is what is a good or typical occupancy rate?
Yeah, Brian, I mean, that's across the board, right? It just depends on where you are. Are you an A, B, or C facility? Are you climate control? Are you all outdoor drive up? I would say what you're looking for is profitability, my friend. So that's the point for you that you want to get to. And if you're not there yet, I know that can be painful. And if you are in lease-up mode, let's say like that your facility is maybe only a year old, and so you've just not yet quite hit that place that you want to be, keep doing the grassroots. Don't let up on that. Again, remember what I said, that it's a game of time, right? Relationships are not built over one lunch at a chamber event. They are built over time. And so keep asking, keep going out there, keep knocking on doors. Those things will come. That's what I would say. The fruit that comes from those relationships will come. It's not overnight. And then soon enough, you'll be with Carrie wondering, how do I raise my rates because I'm too high and I keep having to turn people away. Going back to Carrie's question too about the waiting list. Yeah, I 100% agree. You can call them back next week when you get one. They probably will have found it. People, they're 3 to 5 days out mostly from when they want to move in. If they're planners, right? A lot of times you'll get a call from somebody who's like, hey, I'm headed to your office and I've got a U-Haul truck full of stuff behind me. And I want to make sure that I have a unit when I get there. Those are not the planners. I'm just proud of them for having a U-Haul truck, I guess, at that point.
Right.
3 to 5 days is probably the max about what people need, unless you are like brand new in a, like say you just built your facility in a tertiary market and you don't have a whole lot of people that are built out in the area. You may very well have people who say, I'll wait. You let me know when somebody moves out. So waiting lists can be tricky just because, it can be a lot of time spent on outbound calls to people who then are like, I don't even remember calling you. That was 6 months ago. Right. Yeah. But it can pay off, depending on your area. And obviously you'll know better than I do. I'm over here behind a screen. I don't know what's going on in your neighborhood. But I would, if I was completely occupied, I would absolutely tell them, but leave me your name and number. I'll call you tomorrow if somebody moves out. Why not?
I love that. All right. We are getting down to the wire on time, and I want to make sure you get through all of your information here. I think that actually is all a good lead into KPIs and pricing.
Yeah. So again, track your data, right? And going back to your manager, make sure they know what you're tracking and that their goals align with your goals, right? If you are measuring occupancy, make sure that their goal is an occupancy number. If you have, and I see this all the time, people buy a new facility and the ARs are just a mess, right? Make sure that you're tracking ARs, that you know what's going on there, but also make sure that if you have any incentive for your manager, make sure that it has to do with getting that AR. You're here, we need that down here, or I would like an X% reduction, or whatever that looks like. Make sure your staff is aligned with your same goal, right? And incentivize them in that direction. Again, I think we've talked a little bit about the pricing portion as well. And I think I saw a question flip by here where someone was saying, like, how often do you need to do that? And again, that's going to be personal to your facility, your area. We have clients who they have software in place that does it literally every single day. And that might be the absolute best for them. And then you have other people who do it manually, or I sat with a manager probably about a month ago where once a month, she looks at all of her competitors' websites and just tracks to make sure that they're kind of in the neighborhood, right? She knows, again, the value of her property compared to some of those. And she just wants to make sure that they are comfortable with saying, yes, I know XYZ up the street is $5 cheaper, but let me tell you what $5 buys you over here.
Right.
Right. And again, that's training, 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 training. That is an ongoing thing. And one thing I would say for owner operators is unless you have a large staff and you have people who are hiring and training and all of that, you're probably the person, right? Make sure that you're supporting your staff. Make sure if they have a question about, hey, this call just came in, this is how I handled it. Absolutely make sure that you are supporting them in that, guiding them towards the next level on that.
Great. I'm just looking at all the different referrals. Or I asked, the last poll question was, which marketing tactic has been most effective for your business? And we had referrals and SI, LED signs with specials. I like that. Word of mouth, can't beat that. Then,
That's good. Patty, I will tell you, that means that you are doing a great job there in the store.
Yeah. Patty, we have lots of referral and word of mouth. Jennifer,
Yep.
word of mouth is usually above 90% occupancy.
Yeah.
And she's in the office 6 days a week. Jennifer.
Jennifer, call me later. Let's talk about how we can get that to 5 and maybe even increase rentals.
Yeah, we can help you with that, Jennifer. 90% is great, but
you
need
deserve a life.
Yeah.
I love that you're 90%. And Jennifer, I'd be curious if you want to repost. Are you the owner or are you the manager? Because I'm curious about that. But yeah, word of mouth and referrals, I would heavily incentivize. If you've got someone who rents with you and they tell everybody they know and they come, their buddies come and rent too and pay their bill every month, 100% a referral fee for every single one of them. Now, pay attention because people go, oh, you're going to give me $20? I'll get all my buddies to move in, trash the place, and leave in a month. Yeah, maybe we don't do referrals with them anymore.
Right, yeah. And, maybe the referral bonus comes in after they've already paid for 2 months or 3 months or something like that.
Something like that, yes. And again, that goes back to your data. You have to track that 100%. You have to manage and you have to measure it for sure.
Yeah. We had lots of great ideas in the chat from Patty and
so Patty, that's a great thought. Does anybody give out gift cards to referrals from people? So yeah, I absolutely people do. I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier though, is that having a relationship with those people and, gift cards are nice, but okay, listen, this is a first world problem. I kind of hesitate to say it, but I have gift cards. I've not used them. And while I was very appreciative of the person who offered me that gift card, if I have them in my wallet and I haven't used them, that maybe wasn't the best for me, right? So what I'm going to say is know these people, know them. And if a gift card is the best, give them a gift card. But if, let's just say you're dealing with someone who they take really good care of their team on site. Throw a pizza party for their whole team. They don't have to do it, right? But it still gets done and their team is taken care of. And you know that because when you sat next to them at the last chamber meeting, they say things like, I really, really wish that I could do something quarterly like that. Our budget is really tight and I can't quite afford it. Help them with the thing that matters to them.
Right.
I think you'll find that goes a long way as well.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have a real estate background and I sold condominiums.
Okay.
So I remember sitting in that office every day. We had a preferred lender and he bought us lunch once a month.
Yep.
He gave us the menu. He said, get whatever you want. They'll bill me. Of course, we referred him to everyone. I mean, he was given the best deal anyway. He was extremely knowledgeable. You have to follow up with your own skills.
Right. You got to be worth it, right?
Right? Yeah. No one refers someone, no matter what you're getting. If that's a bad deal for somebody, you're not going to refer them out. But yeah, he was always top of mind and he'd call and check in. What'd you have for lunch this week? And things like that. I love what you said about gift cards.
Mm-hmm.
I've been guilty of it myself. People give great gift cards, massage and health and beauty stuff, restaurants, whatever. And they go in your wallet, you forget it's there.
Yep.
I have a gift card for one of my favorite restaurants. It's been sitting in my wallet for 2 years.
And you've been there 10 times and paid with your credit card every time.
And completely forgot it was even in there. So, yeah.
I love it. Jennifer's over here getting job opportunities.
She is. This is awesome, Jennifer.
You know what? Jennifer Love, I think that I want to say this out loud to you. No one should have to work 6 days a week.
Yes.
It shouldn't be a thing. You need a break. You need a life. We have people who can help you.
Melody's and Carrie's doing the same thing. And if you are, I'll just mention it now because we are getting close to our 12 o'clock time. Carrie mentioned, are you going to Orlando? Just want to let you know that XPS, Shannon, will have a booth in Orlando, booth number 527. And you can find me and the rest of the SBOA team at booth 707 in Orlando. So please do reach out. Come say hello. We love to meet people in person. It's hard when you're behind the screen all the time like this. And I can't wait for the spring show to kick off. Get ready to come and see all my buddies. I know some of you went on a cruise and I missed out on that.
I didn't go on that either. But it was beautiful. It looks like Carrie, looks like she might be going. Carrie, please stop by. I'd absolutely love to meet you.
Yeah, it looks like she's going. Carrie, are you in Orlando by chance? Are you in Florida? Let's see if we get an answer. Oh, yeah. Amanda's also working 6 days. We need to help these ladies out.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Saturdays from 9 to 1. Curious, Amanda, are you resident manager? Do you live on site by any chance? I know that that's a lot less common than it used to be, but I do still see it. And a lot of times when I hear people work on Saturdays, that's one of the things.
Yeah. Well,
Carrie is coming though.
Pennsylvania. So Carrie's in Pennsylvania, but she's going to be there, which is great. Please stop by and say hello to everybody.
I would absolutely love to meet you, Carrie. No, Amanda's not on site. Okay.
Not on site.
That's very interesting. I am, it's so funny because we're in a time where people are really trying to reduce their staff. But now I'm wondering if they're just trying to reduce their extra staff and putting more burden on the one person who's there who knows things. So yeah, definitely something to think about.
We've got to do something about that. So, it is 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. And I do want to just go over a couple of things. But Shannon, is there anything else any pearls of wisdom you'd like to drop before we say goodbye today?
Listen, I love the SBOA. I love our self-storage industry, and I love everybody who was here today. Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that everybody got at least one little nugget that they can take and get something out of. Obviously, there is so much more. Do not hesitate to reach out to third-party management companies if you need that resource. There are so many great ones in the industry who can get into the absolute nitty-gritty far more than we ever could on a 1-hour call. But I appreciate the opportunity, Iris.
Oh, that's awesome. And we love Shannon and we love XPS Solutions, literally your whole team. Like if any of you ever has a bad day, we don't even know. You're the most amazing team, and you inspire me to build the same with our company culture because you guys are just amazing.
I love it. Joy is a lifestyle, my friend.
I totally agree. I love it, and I can't wait to see you in about a month from today. So, Jaden asked if there's a recording. Yes, Jaden, I'm going to let you know. We will let everyone know. If you registered today, there is a recording and you will get the link for that tomorrow. So I'm going to say goodbye to Shannon and thank you again. We'll see you soon and have a great Valentine's Day. And I'm going to bring up Aaliyah real quick and she's going to announce our winner for the gift card. It was stiff competition. I think it was a tie right up until like a minute ago.
Yeah, you guys were ping-ponging that back and forth. So I am going to cut it right now and say that our winner is, drum roll. Oops, thank you. We did it out. We're trying each other again. Jennifer, thank you guys so much. You guys were so active today, and we had a great energy here. I had so much fun reading all your guys' comments. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody. I hope you guys have a great time.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Aaliyah, for keeping track of everyone for us. I'm just going to give a couple of parting comments here for everybody, letting you know we will be back Self-Storage Unlocked in 2 weeks, February 27th. We're going to talk more about the upcoming peak season with 10 strategies for self-storage success in the peak season. And that will be with our friends at Storage Defender. They have a whole crew they're bringing to tell you all about those top 10 strategies. March 13th, 1 month from today, we will be live in Orlando. So I mentioned that we will be at the show, booth 707. Shannon and the XPS team will be at booth 527. We're going to have Self-Storage Unlocked that day live. So we're going to be talking about who loves self-storage, why they love self-storage. We're going to be making a number of great new announcements about SBOA and new programs that we're rolling out. Just a little tiny hint, it will involve Scott Zucker and the Self-Storage Legal Network. So we're pretty excited about that. We have a new VIP membership that's we're going to be rolling out in Orlando. And we have a lot to talk about as far as SBOA insurance services. So please come and see us. If you can't be in Orlando, then watch us live from the show so you don't miss all of the great things that are going on there. And once again, Jennifer, I keep wanting to call you Laura. I'm sorry. Jennifer, please do email Mari at thesboa.com. Use subject line SSU winner, and she will send you that Amazon gift card. That is all I have for today. Again, thank you everyone for being here. I hope you have a great Valentine's Day. We love self-storage, and we can't wait to see you in Orlando. Bye-bye.
If I were you, let's say you have 5 properties and you realize, look, I can't staff enough property managers to cover all my hours and not miss opportunities I'm probably going to have in the market. I can't staff enough people to keep all of my tenants happy all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my own business development process here for my properties. I'm going to hire, 2, 3, 4 people to cover 100 plus hours a week to make sure we're there for them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to write software to be able to talk to my site management system. I'm going to record calls and do quality assurance on them. I'm going to drive my promotional special. I'm going to do all this here in my central office. If I'm you, the very first thing, once I understood the value of that concept, I would look for somebody to do it for me instead of me doing it myself, because I could never make that a profitable venture. It would never pencil. That's why this company exists. We solve that problem. We are your national sales center.